All right, shalom, shalom. Right, with two brothers out of the Great Millstone Atlanta account. He want to first and foremost give our honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh. Bahashem.
Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem Rekakwadash.
Double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the whole like men that scattered abroad, pushing the truth without sincerity. And also shalom to you very few sincere sisters, right? That's getting in order in these last days as well. Right, to you all say shalom. So,
Shalom.
we'll just, brother touched up on it earlier. I watched, the brother Anash, yeah, about Smash Rock that. We just pretty much going over linebacking or finishing off, the Bishop Atazuan was going to a beautiful lesson, and towards the end, you're just going about just seeing it through, like having that confidence, that faith that you are the elect, right? This is why you're in this ministry. This is why you're doing this walk, So the thing that you're going through is only for a light moment, and you got to see yourself as the elect. You got to see yourself of getting a reward out of this. If you don't see that, then what's the purpose of you being in this walk? So you got to hold on to that faith. That's the major thing that you got to hold on to. Um, jump out with that, or you got to.
God. All right, it's the book of Colossians, chapter 3, and verse 12. It says, Put on, therefore, as the elect of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, holy and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering.
And that main thing that was touching up on was put on as the elect, right? So we're going to that the Greek word for elect, right? Because the Greek word electos, and when you read into it, it says picked out, chosen by the Most High to obtain salvation through Hamashiach. I'm just read all of them. Well, I'm gonna read. The Messiah is called elect as appointed by God to the most exalted office conceivable. It says choice, select. It says the best of its kind or class, excellence, preeminent, applied to certain individual Christians, right? And we know that we are those true Christians. But the thing is, that you're handpicked to go through tribulation, right? The Lord see you as a future ruler, But before I do that, I gotta push you through these trials and tribulations. And I gotta build you up the right. I gotta make you patient on point, So that's why we're going through these things, man. Right. Also, that proves that the Lord is dealing with us, man. Baba Kushab, read this quick precept. Um, yeah, matter of fact, yeah, here you go, right here. This Hebrews 12:5, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as my children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, forgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High Yahweh Shem Shah dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? So that's the beauty about it, right? The Lord is pretty much he's getting you in order, right? He's building you up the right way because he see you as a future ruler. That's why you're going through those things, right? He's not dealing with the 2/3. He letting them have their way, right? But with you, he see potential in you, and he wants you to help govern this earth. So that's what I mean. That's why you have to go through these trials and tribulations. Um, Matter of fact, I can grab one more right quick.
God, God.
This second Ezra chapter, Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. This one of the scriptures that we always like to go into, and it helps us. It helps us see the vision more, right? Because we know that these things we go through is only for a small time, and also it's just a character building. That's all the Lord's trying to do. He's trying to have us be at the top of the top, But between that, we must endure the battles, Um, Sirach 2:1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thyself for temptation, right? Because inside this walk, the Lord going to give you all types of temptation to where you can stop walking, within the ministry. The tribulation may get hell, right? Too many bills, too many people coming up against you. You're losing everything, all because you want to serve the Lord, right? But the Lord said, hey, when you come to serve Him, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? To go off. Hell, you may be in the Job wife spirit and say curse the Most High because you're going through so much trial and tribulations. And the Lord's prepared for that. So that's why we already count the cost. We already understand those things are going to come our way. And also again going back to Hebrews 12, you know, and see that as the Lord dealing with you. It says, verse 2, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. Right. So when you enduring, you're going through what pain, suffering, right? And when you been what does endure and patience got together? The faith, right? It's to make you make hard. It says, and constantly endure and make haste not in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Right. So that's the thing about the Lord. See it as gold, but he has to what? He has to try us out, see where we at with it. Right. We call ourselves hopefully like, Lord he wanna put that to the test. So I'm gonna push inside these situations, right? Knowing he gonna take us up out of them, but you have to just believe that he's gonna do that, you know.
Uh, if I can add,
Go ahead, Papa Kushai.
you know, that's where that faith come in. You know, you have to be faithful and truly believe what Yahweh Shemi Shai has said, man. You know, if you have if you're weak in the faith, you gonna fall out of the truth, man. Any little adversity come, you gonna give up. You're gonna say that Lord is not with you. Uh, you ain't strong enough to make it. But you gotta understand, man, it's all about faith. So I'm just gonna go into Hebrews 11:1. Just saying what faith is, man, because it takes a lot to be in this truth. You gotta have faith first and foremost. It
Mm-hmm.
says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We hadn't seen our Lord Yahweh, man, in the flesh. You know, um, it's just subtle things that we see that are not so subtle now. Prophecy kicking off. These are faith boosters, man. Seeing chariots, all these are faith boosters. Especially now with the prophecies, man. You know, the Lord is not unfaithful, man. You know, whatever He said, whatever He put forth, it either has happened already or it's getting ready to happen, man. But you gotta have faith to believe that it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you don't mind, can you get one? Well, I'll get one in the KJV, but if you can get it for me in the NLT too, this is Proverbs 25:19.
Okay.
Uh, it says this book of Proverbs, chapter 25 and verse 19. It says, "Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth or a foot out of joint." So you can't depend on nobody that's unfaithful, man. That's why we had this brotherhood, man, and we don't really associate with the people outside of the faith like that, man. Because any given situation, they might fold. 9 times out of 10, they are gonna fold, man. You can't depend on these people of the world. You depend on Yahweh Shemi Shai, man. Yahweh Shemi Shai is gonna be faithful until the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we must do the same thing, man. We got to be faithful unto Him. What do it say in the NLT, y'all, if you don't mind?
Okay. It reads, putting confidence and in an unreliable person in times of trouble is like chewing with a broken tooth or walking on a lame foot.
If you don't have faith, you are unreliable, man. How about Shemi Shai can't use you if you ain't got no faith. So you gotta have faith. You gotta be built up in the faith to be able to endure, like the brother's saying. If the elect will have faith until the end,
Mm-hmm.
you know, faithful unto the death.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, you got plenty of examples throughout the scriptures. Look at Abraham. He had the Lord told him to take it to kill his son, man.
Mm-hmm.
Job. It took faith to truly believe what the Lord was saying, man. And that's the type of faith we're gonna have in these last days. And Salakia,
And now you got it, bro. The water. Hey, Isaiah 33:6. That wisdom and knowledge,
Con,
really. you know,
con,
that also helps us believe that we are of the elect, because look what we are retaining. You know, when things come up, like you just said, when things come up, we don't move fast. What, like in Sirach 2 and 3, I think it said 2 and 3, right? Be not hasty in the time of trouble, right? When things get ugly, get dark on your behalf spiritually, you don't curl up and you don't tuck your tail, right? You stick your chest out and you handle it. Because we know at the end of the day, right, the Lord gonna give us nothing that we can't handle. Matter of fact, I can.
con. And so like, and we're not saying that we know for sure that we are of the elect. We are of the hopeful elect. But
Mm,
the thing about it, we're gonna do the things, Lord willing, that Yahweh Shem Shai requires us to do, man, to be able to make it to the end, man.
mm,
That's the difference. You got several examples of people going off unfaithful within Israel. Various camps, man. You got certain camps that don't even believe in the chariots. That's you ain't got no faith.
mm.
You got one body in your house, one body now they name.
Yeah.
Say they don't even believe the Lord did miracles, man. That you ain't got no faith, man. How you gonna get salvation? What is your salvation? If the Lord ain't coming back in chariots to gather the elect, what are you believing in?
Mm.
But
And that,
Salaki, I just had to put that point in
now,
Salaki.
water. It's I had put up in the etymology online, the etymology online for confidence. It says assurance or belief in the goodwill. And
Whew,
all of that,
heat.
all that stuff going back to faith, right? Faith, the Hebrew word amawan, trust, right? And that's the thing about it, we trust. So that's what we lean on. We rely on Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So that is our faith. We don't see no exit, no route B, option B. We rely on all on Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Proverbs 3 and 5. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. You know. Um. You call for. Nah, I think we finished with that one. You got another one,
God.
Matthew chapter.
Salaki, I cut off.
Oh, you can go to Matthew chapter 7. Um,
Okay, God. All right, this book of Saint Matthew, chapter 7, and 13. We'll start at 13. All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, and verse 13. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in threat.
you can unread. You can just finish
Oh,
14.
Salaki. Let me put these glasses on. Salaki.
Shalom.
Let me reread that up. It says, enter ye at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat.
Mm-hmm.
Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it.
And I'm gonna say this right here, correlates with the book of Second Ezra chapter 7 as well. We know that the kingdom is inside that. You gotta go to that the fire on the left, fire on the right, right. To get to that broad, you gotta go to that straight and narrow. And that straight and narrow is gonna be a lot of difficulty, right? Because we know that the Greek word for straight is stenos, right? It's narrow, straight, and we know that meaning to of difficulty, right? You go into a straight, it's uncomfortable, but we know the we know the end results from it. Going through this straight gate, man. So it looks like enter at the straight gate. So just understand this truth is not about we smile here and there, but it's not all. That's not all of the time. You can go through chastening, right? Because what does endure mean? Endure means to suffer, So we're gonna have your little moments to where, the Lord give us a bone and we get to smile, fellowship, do lessons, you know. But for the most part, brothers be catching it, and what's really keeping us smiling right now was, a prophecy like the brother was just going into. We seen these things go down. That's boosting our confidence. Like, we inside we in the right seat, man. We teaching what's about to come. We seen these things getting lined up to come. This is giving us a good confidence of us being in the right position. You know, that was that on that up.
Okay, Con. Let me see. First Peter chapter 1 and verse 1 in the NLT.
Con,
Baba Kashaw.
con. It reads, it says, this letter is from Peter, an apostle of Hamashiach Yahushua. I am writing to God's chosen people who are living.
Con. God's chosen people, which are the Israelites. And now we know, even more so now the elect of Israel, because we know 2/3 are not gonna make it, man.
It reads, I am writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners in the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Bithynia.
But Bithynia.
Bithynia. Yeah. It's the water. Kind, like in the modern, today's time is we scattered abroad, James 1:1, we scattered abroad. So hey, he's still writing his letter to us, you know. Verse 2 for you. It says, God the Father knew you and chose you long ago, and his spirit has made you holy.
Con. Uh, uh, what's that? Romans 8,
Mm-hmm.
being predestined.
Yep.
So and the Lord chose Israel to be a special people above all people. But hey, now it's all about the elect, man. The Lord has ordained, the first fruits, the first spirits created, 144,000. Those are the men that's gonna be faithful unto death, man. You know,
And then just like you writing out your own, we writing out our test one. We already got the victory. We just playing it out, So you got to make it a good fight, Especially if you believe. You believe you
con,
the elect, man. I promise you, I wouldn't go to no fighting match and somebody getting dragged 3 rounds straight, or he get a knockout in the first round. That ain't
con,
go what?
and to even prove, go into your point, is like if it's like believing you're a 2/3 and still trying to preach the word.
Con, con.
It don't even make sense. It don't even, you know. So you gotta have some form of some thought of thinking, man. It's a possibility that I might be able to get out of here, man, on that chariot.
Bob Kushar, let me grab that right quick. You got it. It's James 2:12. No, it's not. Is it 1:12? If it's not it, I'll go to something else. I'll paraphrase it, but it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Just to back up to your point, to be preaching and you still don't think that you got a chance. That's double-minded. And of course, that'll get you up out of here because that means you don't have no faith. You're really just faking the funk.
And we see a lot of examples of that. Alazar, you know, he claimed to be, a prophet, but he out here doing abominable acts, man.
Good. I'm back.
Like,
And I good. I Shalom, thanks, brother. Kalak. Yeah, but that.
shalom.
It's back in verse 2.
Okay, yeah, con.
Okay.
We can drop down to like kind of like verse 9. I think the point is, but you can go from 2, yeah, 2 on down.
2 to 9 or
Yeah, con.
all right. It's 1 Peter 1 and 2. It says, God the Father knew you and chose you long ago, and His Spirit has made you holy. As a result, you have obeyed Him and have been cleansed by the blood of Yahweh Shah Hamashiach. May the Most High give you more and more grace and peace.
And it's going into the elect, man. You know, Yahweh Shem Shai chose the elect from the beginning. You know, you can continue on now.
Jump down to verse 9, right?
Well, just you can read down to verse 9. You can read. We'll just go through it.
Okay. It says, all praise to the Most High, the Father of our Lord Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. It is by His great mercy that we have been born again, because Yahweh raised Yahweh Shah HaMashiach from the dead. Now we live with great expectation. That's heavy.
And this is explaining how we living, man. This is why we doing the will of Yahweh Shem Shai, man, because we understand the sacrifice that was put forth for us to be here. Even, man, to be able to be brought into the fold, just to even know this knowledge.
Uh-huh.
Even though we haven't been, we don't know if we are the elect just yet, but just to even know this knowledge, who we are and who we used to be, man, can't help but to be faithful to you. How about Shem Shai?
Like you said, Scripture says we now we live with great expectation, and we expect to get the victory. Cause look what we doing. We sacrifice. We put off the old man, put on a new, and that's what He told. He said, "So what will I get for, forsaking everything? I'm gonna make you a ruler over all the nations. Replicate. You know,
Ruling with a rod of iron.
mm-hmm. And we also look at Yahweh Shai as our example. He's the author and finisher of our faith. You know, so yeah, we got expect. If the Lord had made it to the end on His trial, and we believe the same thing.
God.
Verse 4, it says, "And we have a priceless inheritance, an inheritance that is kept in heaven for you, pure and undefiled, beyond the reach of change and decay."
God.
It kind of reminds me of Matthew chapter 6 and 19. He said, pretty much what He got is where moth and rust don't corrupt, or thieves break through and steal, right? But what we got, they can't do that. Which one I had just started? Oh, verse 5. It says, "And through your faith, the Most High is protecting you by His power, Salakia. The Most High is protecting you by His power until you receive this salvation, which is
God. You see that?
good."
How about the Most High is protecting us, man, through our faith. Soon as that faith start wavering and you start not believing, man, you out of here, man.
If I may add that, wasn't that with Peter crossing the water?
God.
He told him to come to me, and he
Faith start wavering, his belief wavering, and he starts sinking, man.
started sinking.
And we in the same boat. As soon as we stop believing in Yahweh Shem Shai, truly believing in Yahweh Shem Shai, man, we gonna be left for the wolves out here, man.
Because you already told you get this truth and you turn away, you finna get it worse than the ones that don't believe, just don't flat out believe.
Con.
This I read 5 back over. 5 was heavy. It says, "And through your faith, the Most High is protecting you by His power until you receive this salvation, which is ready to be revealed on the last day for all to see." That's heavy.
Con. They gonna be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation, because they don't believe so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans even a part of that, man. They don't believe that. We know it's not about skin color, but they gonna be amazed. Why they getting destroyed, we gonna be getting beamed up, man.
And going back to the story of Job, he was saying Satan was like, no, he got the hedge of protection around him. You know, and that's how you got to see it. You know, with us being inside this walk, we got to believe that the Lord has that hedge of protection around us. So I'm gonna let you go low, but He's not gonna let you go too low. You know,
God.
that I can hold it right quick. This First Corinthians right quick. Uh, I just put it on here. I think it's too slow. First Corinthians 10 and 13. It says, "There have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." That's just the point, you know. He gonna put you in position, but it's just to build your character, honestly, right? He not gonna let you be overthrown by it, but it's just to, put that fire through that trial. You know,
What? So like y'all, what did it say about man? It said something about man. What did it say?
It says, "But will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it." Well, remember, it's common to man. Salaki, I read from the top. They have no temptation. Salaki. They have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man.
Okay. Con. So
It's,
hey, that just goes to show you, man, we can't rely on ourselves. We can't rely on no other man. Matter of fact, I got one for you.
con.
This is Jeremiah 17:7. It says, "Blessed is the man that trusted in the Lord Yahweh, and whose hope the Lord Salaki." It says, "Blessed is the man that trusted in the Lord Yahweh, and whose hope the Lord Yahweh is."
And,
Salaki.
and right there, you winning. you know, you winning right there just by He said, "Blessed is the man that trusts in the Lord." You know, um, you reread that one more time, Babu Shah.
It says, "Blessed is the man that trusted in the Lord Yahweh, and whose hope the Lord Yahweh is."
So you got your whole. He already saying, "Blessed is that man," because why he hope in Yahweh Shemel Shah. So he's willing to go through whatever it is. You know, like I said, that's the spirit of Job. Really, the spirit of all our forefathers. But they got certain
God,
stories that stick out just a little bit to where you want to bring out. But all of them had it, man. You know, Khan the water. Khan Shalom out Yahweh Shemel Shah Barakatah. Yeah, that's a good one as well, right? Romans 3 and 4. God forbid, yeah, let God be true, but every man that lie, as it is written, that thou might be justified in thy sayings, and might overcome them with our judge, right? And that's
God,
most of what we got to do. Let the Lord be true, But we got to stick to the code. Got to stick to the code. Uh,
God. So, uh,
do your thing.
can we finish that First Peter?
Come, we there right now.
Cause yeah, I think the point is like in 9, but we at what, 6?
Yeah, 6. Yeah,
Okay.
it's First Peter 1 and 6. It says, "So be." It's back in the NLT again. "So be truly glad. There is one wonderful joy ahead, even though you have to endure many trials for a little while." Just that.
Hey, and that's the same thing like the bishop was saying, man.
Mm-hmm.
We might be going through, we catching it, but we gotta truly believe, man, and have that faith that it's a strong possibility, man, that we are of the elect, man.
Mm-hmm. What it was. Second Corinthians, yeah, that light affliction. All right, this verse sound. It said, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Hamashiach Yahushua is revealed to the whole world." That's heavy.
Huh. So when the Lord come back, man, we gonna get beamed up, man.
God.
Man, woo,
And,
man, getting excited just thinking about it. You know what I'm saying?
and that was a heavy precept, man. That was a heavy script. And hey, man, like you just saying, like to go through these small trials right now to get this big old glory. Hey, man, that's worth it. Going out to present your body as a living sacrifice. That's worth it, man, because we know what that is like. People that be doing forex and stuff, trading and stuff. You know, they know the bigger picture when it strikes. You know, we know the bigger picture when it happens, man. You know.
Con. And we seeing these prophecies pop off. You know, you can't help but to have faith, because everything that we reading about is happening right before our eyes, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference between us and these people out here, man. They don't care. You
Yeah.
know, they don't care. They have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, hey man, we take pride in showing our faith to Yahweh Shem Shai. You
Uh,
know,
Not boastful pride, but just pride in the Lord. You know, we believe
right?
he gonna make. And matter of fact, like you had just said with that we see these prophecies. Hey, we see that big old turning point, right? With this week with the Iran and Israel. You know, hey, brothers going through it, but I bet when brothers heard that Israel then hit, then Iran came back and spent hey, brothers was up in here just smiling like whatever things we had going on. Hey, it just increased our faith. Like whatever, man. We almost about this thing. Family of the Word coming real soon. MOTV finna hit real soon. We almost about this thing, man. You know.
Like it's a lot. And like you were saying, man, you know, at this point, man, you know, it's been like this, but right now, man, it's just a day to day. We just taking it day by day now. Cause we
Mm-hmm.
know we short. Hey, it's a short time. We got a short time.
Mm-hmm. This back in verse 8, it says you love him. Damn. You love him even though you have never seen him. That's faith. It says,
And that's like going into Hebrews 11:1. You
mm-hmm.
know, we hadn't seen the Lord, but we still love him, man.
Mm-hmm.
We still doing what he asked us to do.
It says, though you do not see him now, you trust him, and and you rejoice with a glorious, inexpressible joy.
Con,
The reward for trusting him will be the salvation of your souls.
man of the elect, man. Trusting in Yahweh Shem Shai gonna get us saved up out of here, man. Being faithful to the Lord is gonna get us up out of here. You know, kind of like you know how IUIC constantly boasting the law, the law, the law, the law, but they lacking faith, man.
Con.
They don't even believe in the name, so
Mm.
they lacking faith, man. Hey, it's a clear separation of who got the 100% truth, man. You know, from Apostle on down, the man of GMS. You know,
I got a quick one right quick.
uh,
Um, it says Acts 14:22. It says where in the NLT it says where they strengthen the believers, they encourage them to continue in the faith, reminding them that we must suffer many hardships to enter the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So pretty much going back to First Peter, man. You know, these little trials is really nothing, right? Because what we're about to get is the whole world. So who would want to suffer for, let's just say 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes you get to go have, for a child, you're in time for 5 minutes. After that, you get to go have fun. You know,
God.
why not?
And if it was easy, anybody could do it. You
Yep.
know, the
Mm-hmm.
Lord said it's gonna be many that perish, man. Many more are gonna perish than gain that salvation that as is a wave into a drop, roughly paraphrasing. But it's all about the faithful, man.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that got tried, MOTB, the ultimate test.
Ultimate.
You gotta have faith not to even take that, man. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta have faith in you. How about Shem Shai that you're gonna be able to make it without taking that MOTB, man.
Well, I may add, like you said, like the other was, last night, he was like, we ain't even got to the hard part yet. So, a brother face shouldn't even be wavering right now. We
We
have
ain't seen nothing.
ain't seen nothing. The lights out. You know what I'm saying? Folks going crazy, but because of the food. These troops actually got their boots on the ground. Going house to house, looking for us. We
Con.
ain't went through the hard part yet. So I face shouldn't be wavering. It shouldn't waver at all. But
And to be honest, even though we go through these, trials and tribulation, man, we still got a roof over our head. We
Mm-hmm.
still got food. We still got jobs. You know what I'm saying? We ain't seen nothing yet,
Yeah.
but we know it's coming though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what these scriptures are doing, man. Preparing us, prepping us for what's to come. You know,
Kind. Yeah.
boosting our faith.
Mm-hmm. I say like how it says in Second Ezra chapter 16 and 40. You know, being ready for the battle. You know, and that's all we're doing because these scriptures are what to build us up. You know, Ephesians chapter 6 goes to put on the whole armor, salvation. You know, because we know we come to a time where we're gonna need all of it, man. You know, but you still got to see the bigger picture though. That we are of that hopefully let that remnant. Um, you have something else?
Uh,
Yes.
nah. You want to jump, or you want to get second at you?
Kind I got one real quick. Uh, just Second Corinthians 4:17. It says for our in the NLT. It says for our present troubles are small and won't last very long. Yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. You know, see, and that's the kingdom. You know, these small troubles, it is it. It's a small trouble. All right, this too shall pass, man. you know, it said, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. Right. So that just being, man. You know, this right here,
Con.
what you about to get. Matter of fact, I got one more, and we can hit that
And the
one.
thing about it, it ain't no second guessing. Like they haven't played the NBA championship. They don't know if they gonna win or not. We know if we stay down with your how about Shimmy outside, we gonna win, man.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that it's guaranteed victory already.
This It's Romans 8:18. It says, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us." You know, so the small thing that we go through is nothing compared. Right? You can't compare this captivity to the kingdom. It ain't no comparison.
Mm.
Esau's kingdom to the kingdom is weight. There's no comparison, right? The Lord is going to blow this kingdom off the map, and we go around certain spots like Alpharetta, Buckhead. We like, damn, it's a nice ass house, right? The Lord said that there ain't gonna be nothing compared to what He got in store for us, right? But you just down your mission and watch it go to you. You got it out.
Nah, that's gonna be like that's gonna be the tool shed in the backyard.
yeah, they were Esau sleep at. The best house that we see in over here gonna be Esau's shit house, compared to our houses, man. You know. Um yeah, do you want to finish that 30? I can start at 35 on down if we jump to the second at chapter 2 and we can close out after that.
Con, we
35.
can
No, you
get on.
said 29 on down or 35?
Uh, 29. You want me to read it?
You can, con.
All right, this book of Romans chapter 8, starting at verse 29. It says, For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be
Con.
conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren.
Going to that elect, man. Right, we were predestined for it. Right, it was already predestined, preordained. But we don't know who's who. Right, so with that being said, you want to keep walking it because we're not for sure, but we for sure we believe that we could be one of those men. We doing the Lord told us to do, staying away from the things He says stay away from, not taking that seat help. You know, so you gotta have that faith that you are one of those ones, those first fruits.
Verse 30, it says, Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified.
If you can expound on it out.
So, the Lord has already predestinated the elect, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're gonna be justified in our sayings, man. Everything that we're saying the side looks that we get when we out on the corner preaching and teaching, man. You know, people walking by giving dirty looks, the scoffers on the internet, whatever, man. Scoffers on YouTube, whatever. Vocab Malone, all them, man. We gonna be justified in the end. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all these people are gonna be put to shame.
God,
And then ultimately we're gonna be glorified, man, when we get to the kingdom, man.
God. That's the same thing. That's the same walk your house I had to do, man. Folks spitting on them, talking, talking down on them. You know, we in the same boat, man. Right? And the Lord, the Yahweh uplifted Yahweh Shai on the right hand side, and us soon to be. You know.
Uh, Verse 31 it says, What what shall we then say to these things? If Yahweh Shemi Shai be for us, who can be against us?
So pretty much, hey, the Lord already stamping it, man. So who can go against it, right? What has been already stamped? Nobody.
Nobody. Verse 32 it says, He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things?
Okay.
Who shall lay anything to the charge of God of the Most High's elect? It is the Most High that justifieth.
And really about self-explanatory, right? The Lord, He considered it done.
Hey, who can lay a charge to to Yahweh Shemi Shai's elect, man? You
Mm-hmm.
know, the elect is set apart from everybody, really.
Yep.
Uh, verse 34 says, Who is he that condemneth? It is a Mashiach that died, yea, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of the Most High, who also maketh intercession for us.
Mm-hmm. Con, you the one that got us, back in the fold. You can keep
It
going.
says, Who shall separate us from the love of a Mashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword?
Right. So he said, "Who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach?" Like, hey, you losing your right, you losing your wife, right? You losing your job, losing your money, financial struggling. Whatever. Hey, shit, you may lose a limb. You know, you have bad illness, right? Going back to the story of Job, right? Hey, who shall separate us from the love of the Most High? Right? It's nobody. You know, we doing this for a reason. We know we getting salvation through the sufferings, man. Right? Going back to Sirach 2 and 1 on down. Be not hasting in time of trouble. When thou brought to a lower state, and the Lord is going to eventually bring you back up. You know. Um, it says shall tribulation. At the time we coming to check Jacob's trouble, right? The MOTV is finna be made mandatory real soon. You know. You're gonna have to be tried, right? Some brothers may have to face that guillotine. You know, and you have to really renounce your faith, right? Is you still going to stand on the side of Yahweh Shem Shah? You still going to say that you still love him and you willing to get beheaded? No. I mean, yeah, you willing to get beheaded. It's like you willing to get beheaded for the love of Yahweh Shah.
Mhm.
It says, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword, right? Famine, right? Food, when it gets source up, when the food scarcity get real low, is you going to go out to eat so you can get that hip because you hungry? Or you still gonna show the love you love the Lord, and you're gonna stay hungry until He feeds you, like how He did Elijah. You know, you got it out.
Verse 36 it says, As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all day long, we are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded
And like,
that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh Shem Shai, the love of the Most High, which is Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, our Lord.
Khan, So like yeah, the signal had went out, but it came back. But really going back to 37, that main thing said we're conquerors. You know, going back was it First Corinthians 15, like 57, right? We already got the victory. You know, so the road that we on, right? You shouldn't let none of these things, right, take your crown because your crown is already set, right? Don't take no detour route because you, you feel some type of way, But yeah, like you said, it says in all these things we are more than conquerors, right? I'm persuaded, and that's the main thing. I be persuaded, right? Let me see if I can grab that right quick. Um, persuaded is going to pitho, right? It says persuade to induce one by words to believe, right? And that's real heavy. To listen to, obey, yield, comply with, to trust, have confidence, be confident. That's the main thing. Confident. All of these things gonna tie into faith, man. When you persuade, it's like, you know what? I know this is the way. I know this man finna come down with great wrath. He's gonna try to put that seed up in front of me. I'm persuaded not to take it. I'm persuaded to die behind it. You know, Khan the water up, and I can read that last one for you. You said
You can get it up.
okay,
I'll read it for you.
okay, and we can close out after that. 42 on down.
Okay,
But
come.
this is like the end all be all, man. We're going through these trials and tribulation, and best believe it's a reward, right, for all of this. You got it out.
All right, this is Second Ezra chapter 2 and verse 42. It said, I Edris saw upon the Mount Sion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs.
Con, you
Can you
got
hear
it.
me? Okay.
Yeah.
It says, and in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than the rest, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly.
Con. So he already knew. So going into it, excuse me, is a young man, right? Really going. Once we read down some more, we can go into Yahweh Shai, right? His ranking, and his height, was higher than ours, and what setting crowns on the elect. Those are the men that hey, they had first and foremost they had the Thawa from Ezekiel chapter 9, right? Exemption from judgment, right? Those don't men that the Lord seen worthy of being. Well, those are his first fruits. His first fruit has went through their trial and tribulation. They went through their test, went through the straight gate, right? And now it's time to get their reward for that, right? You got it out.
Verse 44, it says, so I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh Shem Shai. Now are they crowned and receive palms.
And going back to Ephesians chapter 4, putting out that old man, putting on that new man. Once we put on that new man, we didn't look back. We didn't have the spirit of Lot's wife. We seen the. It's like once we put on that new clothing, we seen the finish line. While you was out the world, you don't really see no finish line. You just think, oh, I'm just die, and that's it. Now we truly see the finish line of what's going to happen once these prophecies come to pass. The Lord put that discipline back in us. He put order within us, man, and that's a part of that new clothing, that wisdom. Oh, you got it out.
No, I was just agreeing with y'all.
Oh, kind. Confessing the name, which is Yahweh. That's the Heavenly Father name, and His Son name is Yahweh Shai. That's who the word incorrectly called Jesus. You got it out.
All right, verse 46, it says, then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hand? So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom ye have confessed to the world. Then began I greatly to command them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord.
Fine, and so that's what Esdras saying. He commended those men because we stand on the name of Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua, Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and we also willing to, go out behind it, man. The MOTV, that's gonna be a big turning point for a lot of people that say they're in the faith, right? When that hour of temptation comes. He's like, damn, you willing to get your head beheaded? You know? Yes. We believe that's the name, right? We're not calling on no other name. We're not saying Most High Christ bless. No, we know the actual names, and we believe in that name. We believe there's no other name that you get salvation out of. So yeah, he was down. I read it. It says, then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiff before the name. So he commended them like, man, those some true mighty men. They deserve it. You know, every brother got a story, right? And like I always speak, to myself, hey, without no test, you ain't got no testimony. Oh, you got it up.
It says, then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power had thou hast seen. Salakia. Let me read that over. Salakia. This book, 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 48. It says, then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen.
So that's just the point, man. Hey, you almost home. To your brothers, that's hey, we all in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? We in the same boat, different seats, and we just steady got down. You know what I'm saying? We in that canoe, we paddling. You know what I'm saying? We just we almost there though. We definitely almost there, and Lord willing, this was a good exhortation. You got anything else out?
No, that's it. That's it. Lord willing, it was edifying.
So we're gonna close out. Like I said, like we said, Lord willing, was edifying. First and foremost, we're gonna give our ongoing praises to Yahweh.
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Ruach Kodash.
The honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to overlake men, and shalom to you very few sincere sisters. Shalom.
Shalom.